world's changing. And you are right in the center of it.
I don't know what's ahead, but all bets are off.
So it's not been 1,000% confirmed, but Dana White has hinted at it. I think even said explicitly this is what they're looking for this to be. Anderson Silva, I think in October or so, is going to fight Uriah Hall. All right, and it's a fine fight in the sense of, okay, I understand it, particularly BC on the Uriah Hall side. He was supposed to fight Jacare, a big-name opponent. That was the one when they did the COVID shows early in May in Jacksonville. And, of course, he regrettably got sick, and they had to call that off. Then they were going to have Yoel Romero, and he had to withdraw for undisclosed reasons. I bring those up to say Hall has gotten with a new camp. He's with Saif Saud, who is one of the best trainers in the sport. You think, okay, maybe this guy's really going to, begin to finally build upon all that potential. And those were name opponents. Now you're like, well, what's he going to do? So they give him Anderson Silva. If I'm Uriah Hall, BC, I love this fight. I love this fight because it's winnable. I love this fight because Anderson Silva still has a name. And if I'm the UFC, I understand why they made this fight. They probably see Anderson Silva is going to be, if not this one, then the next one, but certainly they want it to be done. And Uriah Hall can get that name opponent that they feel like they probably owe him at this point. They tried to give him 2, and they couldn't. And if he gets that win, great. They can move him up, and they just need as many fresh contenders for whoever wins that title at UFC 253. Not the Hall would be the title shot winner, but I'm just saying, keeping that train moving. If you're Anderson Silva, I don't know why you accepted this fight other than you were forced to. Why on earth would he take this? Here's my question, BC. It's not that Uriah Hall beating him doesn't confer some kind of respectability upon his name, but we're talking about the greatest middleweight of all time here, maybe the greatest fighter of all time. Beating Hall at this point is impressive, but it doesn't meaningfully change his resume in any kind of way. Moreover, he's probably not going to beat him. Moreover, I did not like that fight that Conor had suggested in the sense of that's what I thought the best use of Conor's time was. But you can't tell me that Conor going to the French Riviera, wherever the hell he's at these days, not fighting, rather than fighting Anderson Silva is a better use of his time. And I have a very hard time understanding what Silva gets out of this because his chances aren't good. And even if he wins, it doesn't do anything for him versus the Conor fight. Even if you lost that, it's fun. It's sort of frivolous in a way. And it's really weird and unique. I didn't like that fight either, but I'll take Conor versus Silva over what we have this time any day of the week.
Yeah, I hate this. Hated it. 2 snaps down all the way here, Luke. I've been really critical of how they've booked Anderson Silva at the late half of his career. Do you know what Silva should be doing right now? He should be doing what Fedor's doing in Bellator. Like, the reality is Anderson Silva would have a great time in Bellator. You can book him in fights that he can still win because even at 45, there's still some real fun things left in the tank. Not title contending things. Not let's go have him beat these grinders and these hard-ass guys. But fun fights. Could you imagine him in Bellator right now against like Machida, and we'll bring back Rashad, and you could do some fun against Fedor. You could do some fun, weird matchmaking. Here's the thing about UFC though. They can do the same thing. We always credit UFC because the best always have to face the best. And again, I'm not naive to the idea that eventually your stars face your up-and-comers and you sort of go through the food cycle there. And, Anderson going in there, by the way, against Israel Adesanya was somewhat of that, right? And he gave a great effort, and he shined up Adesanya for his next step in the future, all that good stuff. They do not know how to book him overall. The Derek Brunson fight, what was there to win there? That shouldn't have happened. The Cannonier fight made no sense at all. This fight right here makes no sense at all. If he wants to keep fighting and he's still a decent level of a draw and he's exciting and he's not out there getting knocked out, which, last time I checked, outside of leg injuries and acting like a buffoon against Weidman, Anderson Silva doesn't get knocked out. Why don't you just give him his Bellator tour run right now in the octagon? The Conor fight's not a bad idea. You know what? I'd like Silva to fight. How about Robbie Lawler? You can't do that? How about another Nick Diaz type fight? That's what makes sense. He just wants to compete and have fun and take challenges. He gains nothing by fighting guys you have to fight to climb the ladder. Those days are over. They made one more fun Dan Henderson Bisping 2 type run out of it and said, hey, if you beat Adesanya, you get one more title shot. And Luke, like I said, to his credit, he pulled out what was left inside of him, and that's fine. Those days are over, UFC. Wake up. Treat him like the legend he is. Put him in fun-ass main events. Give him the only legend that they've properly known how to book, and that's Rich Franklin, and that was by accident. He became the reliever in the bullpen. You need a name at 185. You need a name at 205. Call Rich Franklin. He'll make some fun-ass fights. He'll knock out Liddell with a broken arm. That should be Anderson Silva right now. Why do people not get this, Luke?
Yeah, and the other part about it is that you can't even argue he's never done the UFC solids in terms of matchmaking. He has taken on the guys like Adesanya and Cannonier, the next wave. I mean, Adesanya was not champion at that point. So that next wave of contender to set them up with a name and a future and everything else. Plus, filling in for John Jones against Daniel Cormier on short notice at UFC 200, going to fight Michael Bisping in London. Like, the dude has done this part of his career already. You can't say he's never helped the UFC out. Yes, he absolutely has. If this is his last one, why is he not in the funnest fight that you can make on the roster? And maybe the Hall fight will be really good in this way, and we're all just being super negative. Okay, fine. I will come on here and eat crow if that fight ends up being tremendous. But I have a feeling it's not going to be. It's going to end up being like, Hall probably wins, and maybe there's exciting moments here or there, but it's relatively one-sided, relatively lackluster, and that's just the end of it. That's how the great Anderson Silva is supposed to go out of the UFC. It seems ridiculous to me. So I don't understand what the motivation is, other than they have this sort of myopia about what they're to do with their aging stars. All right. Last but not least, we see
take more to sprinkle on. Can we throw GSP some money, or if we're keeping him in the bullpen for Khabib, that's fine. How about Junior Dos Santos? How about we put Andy out on a go-away at heavyweight for fun? Roll it out there. There's a lot better ways you can do this.
Right, and to your point, even GSP is saying he finds a fight with Khabib very, very unlikely, even post Dana White's recent comments, because they don't want him to go off with the title. Well, congratulations. You don't have to worry about that if it's Anderson Silva versus GSP or Anderson Silva versus Conor McGregor or whatever. None of those concerns are in play, and at least it keeps everybody busy. I don't get it. I really don't understand.
Hey, Luke, are you in a hurry? Because I got an interesting question to ask you. You're not in a hurry.
Go ahead.
You don't have jobs,
no,
right?
No, I do have a HR meeting, but we got time.
That's fine. I know people. Javier Mendez, the coach of Khabib at AKA, came out and said an interesting thing to a Brazilian podcast. He said, if Khabib ends up fighting GSP for the lightweight title in his walk-off fight next April, we're assuming he would have beaten Justin Gaethje to get there. He says the winner of that fight is the greatest of all time. Now, right when you hear that knee jerk, you're like, buddy, I got Bones Jones on line one. All right, it's the booty call at 4 a.m. on the street there in Albuquerque. But the more you think about it, though, look, I think John Jones is the go up and down every day of the week. Don't ask me again, right? There are obviously still people who think GSP is right now. There are people who think Anderson is, or Fedor, or whatever. There's still room in the argument, I think, until John goes up and wins the heavyweight championship. There's still room to make that case. I stopped doing the knee-jerk thing and I started thinking about it. If Khabib retires at like 30-0 and he beats, Conor, Justin Gaethje, GSP, you add on the other 2, 3, 4 solid-ass wins he's had, he's already in a spot being unbeaten and being so dominant where it's going to be hard to know exactly where to put him in the all-time. Maybe that's not out of the question. You could say he's the GOAT after that. And if GSP won a third championship in a third division, of course he'd be the damn GOAT. I think Javier Mendez is right. You can market it this way and it's not insulting. That would be very interesting. Even if, because I always said, if GSP can't make lightweight, don't do the fight. There's nothing to gain from a catchweight fight at welterweight outside of money and, hey, I beat GSP. But I think if you bill it the right way and really make it about the GOAT, you might be able to get to take that step forward past John Jones in the mythical all-time who cares greatest of all time debate.
Yeah, but here's the problem. If Khabib goes in there and does Khabib things to him at 155, then the reverse is going to sort of undo the fight, which is to say you're going to have a scenario where you could look at it and you could say, okay, it's still a nice win. It's a great win, as a matter of fact. And it'll probably make the UFC and those guys a boatload of money. I don't think it's going to be a bad fight in that sense. But you'd be like, well, he beat a GSP who fought 2 times over 8 weight classes for the first time at 155, nearly the age of 40. Doesn't really tell you a whole lot about who's the GOAT there. That's the problem for me if you're Khabib. I understand that there's a name value to it and a substantive value to it. But I'm sorry, that's not the clincher for Khabib to be the greatest of all time if you beat that version of St. Pierre. Because we won't, and by the way, I don't even know if that's necessarily fair, but there's no way to know how good that version is, especially if he ends up getting housed. You're like, does it mean that Khabib was that guy? Or does it mean that this dude at nearly 40 years of age getting down to a weight class that was too unnatural for him
well, you do know that it would be less about beating GSP for Khabib, and it would be the total body of unbeaten work that you'd make the debate
Okay, but
about.
here's the let me ask you, name a fighter that has a better, in your mind, is Floyd Mayweather the best boxer of all time? He's not, right? He's up there, but he's not, right?
Right.
So name somebody better than him in terms of where you rank them that has losses on their career. Sugar Ray Robinson?
Yes, but it was a different era in which you're fighting every month because you had
this is my point.
And let's not forget, Floyd was all about that unbeaten record, right? He made it the marketing, I
understand.
scheme,
I understand. It's a savvy thing. I get it. But here's my point. What is the difference between Ray Robinson's resume and Floyd's, eras notwithstanding? It's not that Ray Robinson has losses, but he has so many more wins over so many more top contemporaries in a much more active clip. The amalgamation of it all really counts there. Now, 30 wins, it would make him easily for Khabib, easily the best lightweight of all time. I mean, that would not even be up for debate. Hell, he might get that if he beats Justin, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. But greatest of all time, when a guy came down to your weight class,
and ask you a tough question. Are you saying, and I'm not saying this is wrong, but are you saying that even with a win over Gaethje, that if Khabib retires unbeaten next April, he will not have beaten enough elite contenders due to the gaps, due to injury and fasting and all that stuff, to
be the greatest of all time, irrespective of weight class? No.
To have a firm claim at the GOAT in your eyes, not anybody else, in Luke Thomas's eyes.
Yeah, no, of course not. Why would you? To me, the losses, they count, they matter. But, dude, you got they're not disqualifying from the conversation in the way that people think they are sometimes. How you lost them, when you lost them.
It would be insane if you'd only lost one round in 30 fights. I mean, you would have to weigh that in the conversation, Luke.
No, dude, again, he might already be, and if he beats Justin, he probably is the greatest lightweight, which, by the way, that's the toughest division in MMA. But to me, it's like beating GSP now. What's harder, beating GSP right now at 155 or beating Kamaru at 170? I'm going to say it's beating Kamaru. You might disagree with that. Now, at 170, I don't know. It gets a little bit dicier there if both are 170. But St. Pierre never been at 155, fought twice in 8 years if they end up making that happen. That's a tougher fight than Kamaru at 170. I don't believe that. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the value of that win? And then it begins to get to a territory where that's the thing you're going to say is the nail in the coffin on the argument. I cannot accept that.
What if I substituted Tony Ferguson in for the April fight?
Again, best lightweight of all time. And then the conversation gets a little bit dicier because, what would it mean to have that level of domination?
All I'm saying is he's going to have a case. He's going to have some fingers on that throne. On that, he's going to reach for it. If he beats Tony and Justin to end the career, Luke,
yes,
he's going to have a hand on that.
Yes, and again, if he goes in there and houses both of these guys, then you're getting to a territory where it's like John Jones has, which is, the last few fights have been a little bit dicier, but up to the Thiago Santos fight, just sort of ran away with it.
Are you in?
This is our time. The world's changed, and you are right in the center of it.
I don't know what's ahead, but all bets are off.